Hey everyone, welcome to episode 225, Lessons from My Dad from Heaven. Welcome to the Harmony in the Home podcast. I'm your host, Kelly Hutchison. I'm a counselor, a life coach, and most importantly, an imperfect mom doing this work right along with you. And my goal on our podcast is to go from chaos to calm, feel less frazzled, and have more fun within your four walls to have more harmony in your home. I've recorded this so many times, and then I finally finished and did one intro, and then the sound was all staticky and choppy. So I know the sound isn't the greatest, but I'm shooting for D- right now, not even B-. If you and I are linked up on any types of social media, you probably already know. And if you don't, then I'm about to break your heart because my heart is completely broken, even saying it out loud. And I try to just say this. I try to talk about this without my voice cracking, and it's impossible. So my sweet, loving, amazing, salt of the earth, kind, humble father earned his angel wings and is in heaven, which sounds so wild to say out loud. And I feel like he was filled with so much wisdom. And I listened back to when he was on the podcast a couple of years ago now. And I listened back and I was crying and laughing that you can hear the lightheartedness between us. And in between the banter and the stories, you can just hear his heart. And there's so many lessons in there and so many nuggets of wisdom that I thought for the next 2 weeks, in honor of him, we should rebroadcast those so we can all learn from our amazing father who hung the moon in our eyes, and he thought the same thing of us and the grandkids and his son-in-laws. So without further ado, here is my beloved father speaking from his heart on what it was like to raise 3 girls in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Take it away, Dad. So today I have a special guest in the studio with me, and that would be my father, the beloved Len Stout. Dad, would you like to say hello?
Hello, everyone.
This is so weird. We're in the closet locked up together. He's like, I feel like I'm going to the, what did you call it?
On death row.
He feels like he's on death row. He's very nervous. So just welcome him with love. So if you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, you've heard all the stories about my parents and how I wanted to be just like them. And in that wanting to be just like them, I was having a hard time finding my own voice as a parent. I want to talk to him and let you listen in to what it was like to not only for him to be my dad, but also for me to be his daughter and his other 2 daughters. I have 2 sisters. They're both older, Jennifer and Molly. And if you've met my dad or you've met my mom, they are the salt of the earth kind of people. And so raising children, whether it's in the 70s, 80s, 90s, or today, it's always the same because like I always say, kids are kids, are kids, are kids. Wherever you go, kids are the same. They want to be seen. They want to be loved. They want to be heard. They want to be valued. They want to be acknowledged. They want to be validated. They want to know that they're loved unconditionally, not based on anything they do or don't do. So that's why I'm always trying to have you as parents not look at their grades, not look at their ADD, not look at their sports, not look at anything other than their throbbing spirit and see them there, and then you will be able to fly with them. So I just wanted to interview my dad and my mom because I feel like they were conscious parents before they even knew what conscious parenting was. And it just came very natural to them, even though they didn't have the exact role models that they needed. So, Dad, what do you remember as being one of the best things about raising 3 girls?
I enjoyed the way you all interacted with each other. You always seemed to have so much fun. When Jennifer was born, of course, she was first, and we lived in a trailer. 12 by 60 trailer. We'd been married for 2 years and Jennifer was born. And we had a great time. It was this little small trailer. We had a super time. And then we moved into a house when Molly was born in 1970.
Whoa.
And we just had such a good time. We had a fireplace. We'd sit by the fireplace with a rocking chair and read stories at bedtime. And they just got along so well. And everything went pretty good until...
Here we go. Until... He's laughing so hard he can't even get it out.
until Kelly was born.
Oh, come on.
But no, just kidding. I mean, we had so much fun. The town was only about 8,000 people. We had such good, friendly neighbors, and they had small children, and we had, and my wife was working, and we had such a nice babysitter, and it was just everything was so nice being in a small town, and I don't have anything really negative about raising three daughters. It's just it worked out so well.
Now, we were living in Minnesota at the time, and then we transitioned to Florida, where we live now. And what do you think was one of the hardest things about raising us?
It was a new environment down here. I really had no intention of moving to Florida anyway. The company I worked for up in Minnesota was having some challenges, and I kind of looking for a new job, and I wanted to work in the Sun Belt. And I got a call from this headhunter, and he says, "How'd like to work in the Sun Belt?" I said, "What's that?" He said, "Well, it's could be Texas or Arizona or Florida." I said, "I don't want to go to Florida." And he said, "How come?" Well, I didn't have any good reason. And about 3 or 4 months later, myself and one of our really good friends, he got a job at the same company I did down here in Florida, and moved out here in 1977. We moved to Florida, and 3 or 4 months later, we went back, and the wife and the three daughters, we all flew down, and we started our life in Florida. And it just, what made it so nice, I thought, was we moved to a town called Coral Springs, and they had even back then, they had a very active, established soccer program. And all of our daughters got involved with that program, and it really seemed everybody was having so much fun. We always go to the games, and it was just, it really made it really nice. And the transition, I thought, went really well. I kind of feel bad for Mary's parents. All of a sudden we're saying we're going to move to Florida, and I don't think I really at the time understood myself what that meant for parents. But
yeah, that's tough.
I'm sure it was kind of tough on them.
And you always said that there was 2 complaints that you had about us raising girls. What was that?
We've been very, very fortunate. I mean, raising kids, 3 daughters, it really could be a challenge. But for some reason, the only problems we've ever had, they spent too much money, and they had messy bedrooms.
I mean, and he just sees the life with rose-colored glasses, because we did really naughty things sometimes, especially Jennifer and I. Like, Molly was like the rule follower. She was the middle one. Jennifer and I pushed the envelope, and we did things that were like, what the what? And you never seemed to lose your cool, and Mom never lost her cool. How did you keep your cool when we were doing things like sneaking out or spending too much money or had the messy bedrooms? Or, I mean, we skipped school before. Like, how did you keep your cool when that was happening?
Well, to tell you the truth, I didn't know about a lot of those things until later on
That's
as
true.
the years passed. And Mary would be so... She came from a family of very nice parents. Family was always key. And to this day, 54 years later, she hasn't changed a bit. Family comes number one. Her daughters are number one. And it was just, and some of we played kind of games. Sometimes, it's hard to get kids up to go to school. So I had this little thing I'd give them. I'd say, "Come on, get up, get up." Okay, I'll get up. I go up there. They're still not up. So I had this little thing. This was mainly in high school. I'd have a little cup of water.
Oh, geez.
And
Here we go.
I just have a few little drips. I wouldn't pour it. I just have a couple of drips. You know what? You'd be surprised how fast they get out of bed when that happens.
Well, I would just hear the water running in the next room, and I would shoot out of bed, because he did give us a couple warnings. And then finally, he would just come and just drip, drip, drip. And you're like, oh, why did I wait? Why did I wait? So then the next time, there was no waiting. Tell him about the time when I was trying to get you back with the water.
This was a Saturday morning, and Kelly had to get up and go someplace. And again, she was on the second floor, so I'd walk up. Okay, I'll get up. I come down, come back up. She wasn't up yet, so I came up and I got a glass of water. And at the time, I was washing my car out in the driveway, so I had a bucket of water, with soap in it and stuff like that. So I poured a little water on her, and she jumped up and she ran into the bathroom and grabbed a little cup, they hold about 5 or 6 ounces.
I was coming after you.
She filled it full of water and she comes chasing down the stairs after me. She comes out into the garage and she comes around. She's getting ready to throw that at me. And I took this bucket of water and I threw it on her. Just doused her.
Oh, man. I stood there shocked. And I think that's what my parents always did is they always kept, even the lessons, they always kept it light. They always kept it fun. And the only way they disciplined us was with the D word. Tell them about the D word, Dad.
The word is disappointing. You just don't disappoint. And for some reason, I'm not sure if it's anybody else but Kelly that really takes offense to that word. But it kind of melts into her soul that it carries a lot of weight. So that's something that I just don't use.
Yeah, they never spanked. They never yelled. They never did anything. They never even grounded us. One time I was tap dancing on the top of his station wagon on the sunroof, and I cracked the sunroof open. And I think my discipline, my consequence that I had to rake the leaves. I'm like, this place is crazy. I cracked your station wagon, and I'm raking leaves as a consequence. What was that like?
I still remember I worked at this company. It was about a 30-minute drive. And back in those days, I'd wear a hat to work. And here I am on not any by means executive, but a manager. And I'm driving down this road with my hat on to work. And it's raining out. I got water dripping on my head through the crack of the sunroof. We just had a whole lot of fun. I mean, I'm telling you, I've never been more proud of my daughters and the joy that they brought. I don't know if you know this or not, but I'm a little bit over 70 and I just turned 80 and I feel great, but I've had so much fun with these kids. But I think Kelly talks a lot about bringing baggage from when you were a child that you bring into a relationship or how you deal with your children. I have a little different perspective on this. Growing up, my parents, they were like 20 and 30 during the Depression. So they lived through some really tough times.
You mean the 20s and the 30s?
Well, in 29, when the Depression started,
right,
when the market crashed, my dad was 28, my mother was 20. So you can imagine what they've been through, and their parents were really strict back from Missouri and Illinois. So there wasn't a whole lot of laughter in our house, but they always seemed to care a lot about me and my sister. And like in high school, I always had it was an old car. I always get to have an old car. I always had gas, and it wasn't working. And I just don't remember where all this, not a whole lot of money, but they were always really nice to me. And my problem is I had a lot of ability in high school, but my mother lived across the street from the school counselor in high school. And they always kept saying I had more ability than what I was applying. And my grades really in high school kind of suffered. In fact, I graduated. I was a strong C-. So you can see where I come from. And I seem to, of course, sometimes teenagers, they think they know everything. Well, I knew everything. And I really didn't show the appreciation to them, or maybe I didn't have a way of expressing it. But then they had me they sent me to college. And that was another experience where I really didn't apply myself. And it showed up with letters of, academic probation. And then I was supposed to go to church every Wednesday, and I didn't do enough of that. So now I'm on church probation. And then in the spring, we got caught drinking in our room, and now we're on social probation. So after a year, they nicely sent me a letter and said, perhaps you should wait out a year. And so I had a part-time job during the summer of 59 or 58. And all of a sudden I came home one time in October. I said, well, I think I'm going to go in the Coast Guard for 4 years. They always seemed to acknowledge support for me, even though I was making it tough for them. And in a way, I have to acknowledge my shortfalls. of my growing up, which made me change my attitude in my marriage and also with my children, that I want to be there for them. And I think it's really worked out because I don't have any negative things from my parents, that the baggage that it's baggage that I brought along that I created myself.
And I think one thing that you learned from that was you always had such unconditional support for all three girls. No matter what we were into, our parents were just as into it. I always joke that if we became underwater basket weaver champions, they would know everything there was about weaving a basket. And so Molly was in soccer, I was in soccer, Jennifer was in dance and drill team and soccer too. And so they were always the biggest cheerleaders, and they were always on the sidelines. And you never got, I don't know, I know that you love that we all play sports and we were in the drill team, but you never got attached to it where it was part of our identity. Where you love that we played sports, but if we quit sports, it wouldn't matter to you. There was no condition to it. It was just something fun to do, but it wasn't something that was part of our identity and why you were loving us so much.
One thing about, Kelly, she played a lot of soccer. And in middle school, she was already on a travel team, club team. But then in middle school, she'd have like 10-game season, and that'd be like a 4:30, 5 o'clock game, and she'd go to different parts of the county. And after the game, we'd get in the car, and I'm not sure if we went home first or not, but then we drove another, 8 or 9 miles to her club practice. And not once did she say, I don't want to go tonight. Now, if she didn't want to go, she wouldn't have had to go. But it was something that she wanted to do. And it created a lot of memories. We had a lot of one-on-one time, and especially after the practice.
Oh, you want to tell them what you did after practice?
I'm afraid I have to.
Yeah. Confess your sins. This is a good place to do it.
We always stopped at Taco Bell, and we have some tacos. I don't know. Kelly said she'd have 6, but I think I had 2. But then we go across the street, and there was McDonald's over there, and she'd always get a cone. And I had the habit of getting 2 cones, and as we're driving home, I'm holding 2 cones in one hand.
Lovely.
And I had the ability to eat them both.
Lovely. Yeah. He didn't save one for when he got home. It was like he was eating both of them on the whole. And I remember those drives to and from soccer. Sometimes I was doing homework. Sometimes I was talking. Sometimes I wasn't talking. I remember having a really bad breakup, and you just hit me on the knee, and you're just like, tough day today, huh? Because I was like fighting back tears on the way to practice. And it was almost like you were holding the space, even though you didn't know what holding the space was. And I just knew that our parents always matched us, and they didn't follow us, but they were always into whatever we were into until we weren't into it. And then they would just kind of, okay, we're on to the next thing. And they were so good at adjusting. And we knew we were never doing it for our parents. We were doing it because we loved it. And they were just cheering us on in the stands, big signs, never missed a game, always there. And what was really cool was when I would play against opponents that were better than me, my dad and my mom would go up to the parents of the other players on the other team and say, your child is so gifted in this sport. Your child is so, we're just so amazed, and we're so impressed by watching your daughter play. And that always just taught me never to look at competition as competition. Just look at the other team and what can I learn? What can I grow? And it wasn't like they sat us down and said, this is what you need to do. They just did it and embodied it, and then we just absorbed it from them. So it wasn't like they had to sit us down and say, don't compare yourself to other people. It was like, look at the gifts of the other people on the other team or in your class or whatever it is, and see what you can learn from them versus seeing them against you. So I thought that was a really cool lesson that we learned. And Taco Bell was one of our favorite places. I still can't go by Taco Bell without thinking about you.
The other thing is, Jennifer, our oldest daughter, and Molly, they were both really good soccer players. And of course, the town just didn't have an older age group where Jennifer could fit in. But I remember we used to go to all her recreational games, and we just had such a good time. And Molly and Kelly were on a high school team for when Kelly was a freshman, Molly was a senior, and they played together on the same team. And we really enjoyed that. So it's just been really a great experience. And the reason that we always hold a space, if anybody held a space, it was my parents. Because let me tell you, I did a lot of things that I'm not proud of that I wish I could change. I never got any kind of trouble, like law-wise. But there's a lot of things that I did that you'd think they'd send them into orbit, but they really didn't. They're always there to support me, and I guess I never really appreciated it until later on in life, and that's why I do that with the family.
And I think that your parents were always very, very serious. And I remember going and visiting, and we had to be careful not to break anything. And it was like almost like a tiptoe energy, but it was also very loving at the same time. So that's pretty cool that you were able to take that energy and not, project it onto us and turn it into that tight, serious energy. Because I felt like you were always really laid back until you did the bills for some reason. For some reason, when he did the bills once a month, it was like, oh dear, Dad's doing the bills. He had this accordion desk. And for some reason, when we got the bills in the mail, he would throw the bill under the accordion desk, close the accordion desk, and he would put it off. And then he would do it once a month. And those were the only times that we had to, quote unquote, stay away from Dad. And what was going on there with the accordion desk?
I'd lift it up 3 or 4 inches, throw that junk mail and bills and everything in there, and I'd slam it back down. And I don't know, every once in a while I'd have to get in there and go through it. And here's an example of how I kind of held a space for a troublemaker.
Are you talking about me? Oh, dear.
We'll get at it.
Oh, dear.
I'm going through this bill on my Visa, and it says...
Not the iron. Are you bringing up the iron? You're bringing up the iron. Oh, my gosh.
I'm going through this bill, and I see this bill. It says, I don't know where she got it from.
QVC.
QVC. It said iron, for ironing clothes, $45. I says, Kelly, what in the world are you doing with a $45 iron? My iron costs $12. In fact, I bought one in 2000 for $13, and I still have it today.
Oh, my gosh.
Anyway, $45 for an iron. Little did I know that was only the first installment of 3.
Oh, this QVC had me selling it. Like I never had to go to the dry cleaners again. It was pretty much going to dress me up every day. It was going to make me look fancier. I was so hook, line, and sinker. I can't even watch QVC because they sell me on things that I don't need because I'm like an instant gratification as seen on TV person. And why don't you tell them about the Blitz and how tryouts went for that, Mr. I'm so like innocent angel on my head. Want to tell them about the Halo with Blitz? Yeah, let's go. Let's bring it.
She was under 13. She was on a travel team in this town of Coral Springs, which is a very good team. Great coach, great teammates. Just had the best of time. But this coach, he kind of wanted something different for the girls, so he kind of wanted to set up a team where everybody on the team was really, really strong. So he got a hold of this fellow from Columbia, and he had a sister and a brother-in-law, and they wanted to start a new travel team where they took girls from 3 different counties, and we had a tryout, and it was hot Saturday.
Oh, it's coming!
Gosh.
It's coming.
It's Saturday. The practice was like 10 to 11:30 or 11 to 12:30, something like that. Really hot, and Kelly was kind of hesitant about going to this thing. Of course, we're all nervous. Will she make it? Will she make it? And so she goes to this practice, and they put him through the paces, and she comes off, and he sets him down. She figures, oh, this is it. She sits him down. The coach sits him down after practice, and he talks about the goals and stuff like that. He says, all right, that's it for today. We'll see you tomorrow, same time.
Oh, my gosh.
She comes over sweating like a stuck pig. She says, Dad, you never told me there was practice 2 days. I said, well, if I would have said something, you might not want her to come.
Yeah, how about that? A little hook, bait, line, and switch. What is it called? Bait and switch. Holy moly. I think it was actually 8 to 12, come back after lunch, 1 to 5, then go the next day. I don't remember 10 to 11:30. I can handle that. But I remember being all day Saturday and thinking, what did I sign up for here? Am I even going to make this team? And then when he says, oh, see you guys tomorrow, same time, same place, I shot him a look like, what are you doing? And in hindsight, it was the greatest decision ever because it upped my soccer. I did make the team, and it was the greatest experience ever. And I was able to go on and play for college because I was playing at such a high level. So it was a bait and switch. So it was for my own good. But holy moly, good thing he didn't do that very often, or I would have lost a lot of trust there.
Those 5 years were really something. She'd have her friends on the high school team, but then she'd have a whole another total new friends on this travel team. And it was just a great experience. And it's something that, my wife and daughters, we all got involved with. It was just one of the best things ever. But going back to the family, holding space for when something goes wrong. My parents held so much space for my start of high school all the way through, pretty much through that first year of college. So about for 5 years, they held so much space for me that I didn't know what that was, but I sure do now.
Yeah, and it was really, he was able to do that for us, seeing that, like, if we ever got off on the wrong path, he was just like, been there, done that. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay in the end. And so he never got really caught up in any of the worry or stress if we were going down the wrong path.